back. So recording now, but for now, hi everyone. Welcome to the first GSMO meeting of 2020. A little different this semester, being online, but a lot of familiar faces and new faces. So excited to have you all here. I'm gonna start sharing my screen so we can get started on the presentation. So yeah, GSMO, first meeting, our topic is sales. And for the first few minutes, we're just gonna run through and introduce the board members. So Josh, you can start off.
Hey guys, I've been the guy that's been constantly sending messages in the group me. Thank you all for the feedback in the forum. As you can see, I am a sport management major like many of you probably are as well. I'm from New York, so an out-of-state Gator. This is a little off. My favorite team is the Giants and the Gators. Go Giants, even though they suck. Here's my email. If you guys have any questions, you can email me directly. We also have a GSMO email. I can give it to you if you're curious. But definitely one goal that have for this club this semester is to kind of build a community. I think that you can really learn a lot from other sport management majors, and I think that this is a great platform for us all to connect.
Wait, I don't know what's going on. Sorry. Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Delilah, co-president, sport management major from Miami. And my goal for this semester for GSMO is to have you guys kind of bring the connection that you gain with our guest speakers from the meeting to your own platform and kind of build a relationship on your own and use us just as like a launching platform.
Hello everyone, my name is Chris. I'm a fourth-year sport management student. I'm also out of state Gator, and I'm from Dallas, Texas. And my favorite sport is baseball, so I support Texas Rangers, and of course the Florida Gators. My one goal this year is to help others connect within the industry and help other students be more connected on campus, because there's a lot of opportunities that we can all find. So yeah.
Cool. Nate.
Hey, what's up, guys? My name's Nate. I'm the social media coordinator. I'm from South Florida. I'm a Cubs fan, Gators fan, Heat fan, kind of spread out. You guys can hit my line, nathanabon14@gmail.com. And one goal I have for the semester is to get you guys networking, building a relationship with people all over the sports industry.
And then now we're going to hear from Brian Avery, our advisor.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I'm Brian Avery, by the way. It's a pleasure to be here. I am a faculty member in the UF Sport Management Department, as well as the Director of Engaged Learning and Outreach and an advisor for the GSMO. So it is wonderful to see such a great crowd. It looks like we're up to 36 participants on today's call. It's excellent to start off with this with Dillion, Chynna, and Raven as guests on this particular first event for the year. It's awesome to be so inclusive with respect to a variety of individuals throughout the country. I know it's not the best method to deliver this, but I think in a virtual world, we're opening up opportunities for a lot more individuals. So excellent work in getting this done. As you can see, I'm from Orlando, Florida. I am a recent transplant to Gainesville about 3 years ago. I am loving it at this point. Took a little adjustment period, but originally from Tampa Bay. I am a Bucks fan, so I'm excited by the opportunities that we see this season. And I'm also a Cardinals fan, so little letdown there nonetheless. But with that said, you can reach me at my email at brianavery@ufl.edu if you have any concerns regarding the sport management department or anything with respect to engagement activities. Pleasure.
Cool. So before we begin with our Q&A session, we just want to encourage everyone in the chat box, if you have a LinkedIn, to kind of put your link in so all the students, like SPM students, can just get to know each other and connect, because like Josh said, we're trying to build that community, and like all it takes is one connection. But yeah, besides from that, we're going to start the Q&A, and tonight's panel is Dillion Del Rosso, Chynna Smith, and Raven Lareunceu. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and we're going to start the Q&A portion. Josh, do you want to start explaining how like the Q&A questionnaire is going to go?
Sure. So we're going to be going through a couple different kinds of categories of questions. And then if we have time, we're going to field some questions from the audience. Please direct message either Delilah or I if you have any specific questions based on what any of the panelists are saying. We'll try to get to them and potentially even breakout rooms if we have some extra time as well. We're planning to end around 8. So let's get started. This is a question for all 3 of our panelists. How did you get to where you are today, and what are some key past experience that helped you obtain the position you're in currently?
So I didn't know if we wanted to go in a specific order or not. If you guys can hear me all right, I can just get started. So again, Dillion Del Rosso, thanks for the invite and having me here. This is definitely exciting, good group. Wanted to just share a couple things with you guys up front really quickly. I'm in an interesting position where my last day with the New York Jets was actually last Thursday. I accepted a new position in the world of PR and advertising sales as a vice president of North Regional Sales for SCG. It's called Success Communications Group. It's here in North Jersey, but spent the last year and a half with the New York Jets on the premium team. But really quick, how do I get to where I was? I'll give you the Spark Notes version. I was an athlete my whole life, grew up playing big baseball and basketball guy. Went to college to play Division III baseball at Misericordia University. I doubt any of you have ever heard of it. It's a really small Division III school outside of the Scranton area. And then studied sport management there. Fell in love with kind of the whole aspect of sales. I always really had that personality, the gift of gab kind of thing, loved developing relationships. And so after college, I jumped right into sales in sports. So Teamwork Online is obviously where I lived throughout my junior year and senior year of college with different internships and everything like that. But I'm sorry, I'm rambling already. So to speed this up, I joined the Aspire group in the University of Maryland. It was my first full-time job out of college on campus down there. I sold tickets for their athletic department. So to consumers, so season tickets, group tickets, things like that. Ultimately, got promoted there a couple times, moved up within the Aspire group, and got to the team leader position. Then took the opportunity to go join the NFL with the New York Jets and took the leap to the B2B side of things and selling to businesses. So that leap was quite a leap, quite a learning curve there. But did that for a year and a half, loved it, had a strong year 1 in 2019. But then obviously COVID showed up in March and kind of threw a wrench in things. I was very fortunate to be with the Jets, which was one of 3 organizations to not let go of anybody through all this stuff. So definitely something to note. Yeah, so again, I don't want to be going on too long here. I'll pass it on.
All right, I'll go next. And again, thanks for having me here. Some of you I've met already, and I'm looking forward to potentially seeing the rest of you at your time here at UF if you ever come out to an Orlando City match. My story is untraditional. I didn't major in anything sport related. I was a hospitality major, and I did various sales and marketing internships within that for the first year or 2. And realized quickly that me and tourists weren't going to be friends for very much longer. It wasn't the path I saw myself going down. At the same time, this logo was blowing up everywhere in Orlando. You couldn't go to a bar, restaurant, you couldn't drive without seeing this logo. And I was also a very big soccer fan. So I was like, all right, well, Orlando City's it. I set my sights on working for the club. I applied 4 times, never heard back. never heard back at all. Like Dylan just mentioned, lived on Teamwork Online just to wait for that next position to pop up with Orlando City. And an opportunity with Major League Soccer popped up called the National Sales Center. Essentially, it was a boot camp where I had to live in cold Blaine, Minnesota for 2 or 3 months, froze my butt off there. But we were selling for every single team all day, sold from California to Vancouver to DC, just all sorts of teams. And at the end, it prepared you to go work for an MLS team. The funny part of my story is I told my boss at that point, I didn't care what team I worked for. I was willing to move wherever. I just wanted to be in a market that had a women's soccer team. I'm passionate about women's sports. And the next day, Orlando City called and said they were looking for somebody to specifically sell the Pride, which is their women's team. So killed that interview, and I've been here for 3 years, most recently promoted, well, I guess it's been a year now, to group sales manager. So I'm looking forward to talking about all that soon.
Okay. Hi, guys. I'm Chynna Smith. Thanks for the invite. Very excited to be here. I'm an account executive for Monumental Sports Entertainment, which covers the Wizards and the Capitals, and the Go-Go and the Mystics. So a couple teams in DC, essentially. But I sell mainly the Wizards and a little bit of Georgetown basketball. But I was a 2019 sport management graduate from UF. And as my last semester of school, I did my internship in the DMV area. I did it with a lacrosse team in Annapolis, Maryland. So before then, I kind of did like a lot of things at UF that didn't really funnel into one category. Like I was a TA for Spiker's class, which highly recommend. I did a lot of work with Special Olympics, also highly recommend. I was a game day ambassador for a lot of different sports. And I was a tutor at Hawkins for football, baseball, and lacrosse. So I had all of these things that like didn't really funnel into one category. But I had developed a lot of like, communication skills and organizational skills that allowed me to be successful in my ticket sales internship last summer. And then, while I was in the DMV area, it was either I kind of network around and try to find a full-time position here, or I moved back to Florida. I really wanted to stay in the DC area. So I went to a sports and entertainment networking fair at Audi Field and met someone from Monumental who was kind of recruiting for their inside sales position. Had a great conversation, and she just told me to apply on Teamwork Online and that she would, immediately pull my application from, the back end of Teamwork Online. So I did that, had a couple interviews and ended up getting it. And I've been there just over a year now. Just like 3 days ago was a year. So that's basically how I got here now.
Cool. Thank you. And just like, right off the bat, we kind of see a reoccurring theme with all of our participants, like being active on Teamwork Online. So if you haven't been on it, I highly recommend to scope it out. Even if you're not interested in applying for something now, you can look at the current positions and then even go connect with the hiring managers so they know you for the next round of hiring. But moving on to our next question. Now that you guys are working within sales, what's kind of your routine basis for your job, and how has that changed with the coronavirus pandemic?
Awesome. So I guess just for the sake of order, we'll just keep this going. And I realized I didn't kind of answer the second half of my question because I was talking for too long. So just really quickly, some past key experiences. Obviously for me, B2B sales, I thought I was good at sales, selling at Maryland to consumers. When you open yourself up to the world of B2B and you learn about all these different industries and how they all work together, just incredibly valuable. Face-to-face meetings go along with that. That was a lot of what we did at the Jets. And then just this pandemic, to be honest with you, I'm sure everybody on this call would agree that this last 6 months have really just been everything. You can kind of hit the reset button from before that. So, but just wanted to share that. For what my job's like on a routine basis, I can't answer that for my current job. I don't start until the 19th, so I'll have to report back on that, guys. Wish me luck. But just a little bit quickly on the Jets and my role. So I was the manager of premium partnerships, which means that I sold their luxury suites at MetLife Stadium to businesses in the New York metro area. So as you guys all know, titles are just could be kind of titles. I was a manager. I certainly wasn't managing anybody. I was a full-time salesperson. So I was focusing on a lot of phone calls, maybe 40 to 50 phone calls a day, emails, cold outreach on LinkedIn. But we were encouraged to have 2 to 3 face-to-face meetings a week. So they wanted us out of the office, taking people out to lunch, going to the city, meeting at their office, going golfing, whatever it was. So a lot of that as well as the one thing I didn't know getting into the NFL, the reason I wanted to get into the NFL is because there wasn't as many games as the MLB or the NBA. I didn't want to work all those games and all those weekends and weeknights. But I quickly realized that, in the lack of games there are in the NFL, there's a massive amount of events and other things that tie into it. So MetLife Stadium, for example, anything that took place at MetLife throughout the entire calendar year, if there were tickets being sold for it, we were working it because we were using it as an opportunity to entertain our prospects, right? So if we wanted to sell somebody a jet suite, we'd invite them out to the Rolling Stones concert if they were a huge Stones fan and try and schmooze them up that way. So a lot of that kind of stuff. Yeah, thank you.
So I'll talk pre-COVID first. Group sales is really, I consider myself an event planner. So my day-to-day was never the same, which is exactly how I want it to be. I never wanted to fall into a routine. The most important part of my day, kind of like what Dillion mentioned, it was I was still actively selling. So I wanted to make sure I hit my phone calls, my meetings, whatever that may be. But I'm also thinking, okay, is it a game week? How can I set my groups up for success this week? Have I sent them all the information they need to know about coming out? How can I set my staff up for success this week? Is there a theme night coming up? Do I need to make sure that I'm working with other departments within the stadium to make sure this theme night is a success? So day to day, I was kind of like half focusing on who am I bringing in for the next couple games sales-wise, but also, is it a game weekend in MLS? Or at Orlando City, we typically work for 3 teams, so it was almost always a game weekend for me. So the second part of my day was making sure that we're set up for the game. And then I would say the third part is, as you grow in sports, you learn to think forward and not just tomorrow, but 6 months from now. So my brain is thinking, okay, right now it's September. 6 months from now, we're looking at March, I guess. Okay, we're already back at the start of the season. What are we going to do for renewals? How am I focusing on getting my group leaders back for the next phase of our group sales process? So to recap, it was sales, and then it was getting ready for the game, and then it was a little bit of forecasting. Now to speak during these times, during COVID, I'm fortunate to be one of, I guess more sports properties now, but we were one of the first sports teams to come back with fans. So that process has been something I've never experienced before, right? It was truly an all hands on deck experience. We had to look at our game day from A to Z and figure out how we can make our fans the most comfortable. Because to be blunt, if we messed up, it could not just affect me, but my other counterparts in the sports business on this call. So specifically, I'll talk on the sales side. This also happened during renewals, at least for us on the soccer side. So we want to make sure we're taking care of our fans and being as sensitive and as flexible as possible. But we also wanted to make sure that they felt comfortable coming back with our policies and procedures. So it was a lot of surveys. It was a lot of everyone from VP to intern hopping on the phones and just chatting with our members and making sure that this is something they wanted to do and under what conditions they wanted to do it. So we actually renewed at a higher percentage than we ever have, I think, just because we took the time to really listen to people. And now we are probably 4 games in hosting home games with about 25% capacity. So we're focusing on selling those, but also selling season ticket memberships for the next year. And I'm super excited because our next slate of home games, we're also starting to open it up back to groups. So we're trying to navigate that communication of, yes, it's okay to bring 10 or more people out. Here's how we're going to make sure you're safe. So my job is kind of gone from, how am I going to handle this on-field activity to how am I making sure a person from point A to point B is safe when they're coming out to a game.
Okay, so me before COVID, as an account executive, I was able to sell like a full book of products for the Wizards. So I could sell, like luxury VIP floor seats or suites or groups or, single game, really anything. So right before COVID was, peak NBA season. We would make about 60 to 80 calls a day, either to, people we'd never talked before or to clients. We would invite a lot of people out because we had a lot of open inventory for the Wizards because, they're not as popular as, the Lakers or the Bucks or any team like that. We would also, go for B2B, we'd go to out of office meetings and then bring people into the arena for tours, take them down to the, the player tunnel, into the locker rooms and things like that. So we could really do whatever we needed to do to make a sale, offer incentives, jerseys, things like that. And that definitely, took a 180 as soon as COVID hit. As soon as Rudy Gobert got Corona, we were told to stay home in DC because, it's a huge city. We all take the metro. We started making calls from home. We took a lot of refunds and things because, people didn't feel safe, but kind of the same thing that Raven talked about. A lot of people took value to the fact that we were very heart to heart with our consumers, that we kind of understood where they came from. If they didn't feel safe to come out, we offered refunds or rolled over account credit. And, selling for the next season, whenever that is going to be in person in DC, is definitely hard. But you kind of just have to create excitement and urgency for the return of whenever, the next season starts. It was first projected December, January, but I mean, the finals are about to start now and it's almost October, so that'll definitely be pushed back a bit. But yeah, just telling people that, we're going to keep them as safe as possible. And if in the end they don't feel comfy, we'll give them a full refund and everything. But as of now, just kind of creating that excitement behind everything. Everyone, DC people are crazy about DC sports when they're good. We're about to have John Wall back and Bradley Beal on the court together. You kind of just have to paint that picture and, let your guard down and let your true emotions about the team show. And that's kind of what we're doing now, is just kind of, creating a greater bond with people.
Hey, real quick, I just wanted to add, and Chynna, I think the last point you made there of just just being unapologetically yourself, because it's so refreshing. The way I looked at it and the way I explained it the last couple months is the last thing anybody wants on their calendar, if you're a professional, is 30 minutes with Dillion from the Jets or, whoever it might be. So you got to get off that call and have them just completely refreshed. They're like, wow, okay, that's not what I was expecting. I thought I was going to be sold on something or talk about how horrible sports are right now or what, so yeah. And also quickly, since I'm 2 for 2 on not answering the second part of the question, for the last 6 months with the Jets and COVID, we went home. Obviously New York was the epicenter. So to this day, they'll be the last movers on anything. And that's one of the reasons why I started looking elsewhere, is because I don't know the next time MetLife Stadium is going to have 80,000 people in it. And so the focus immediately shifted to 2021 once the announcement was made for New Jersey of no fans. And so it was all pipeline building, prospecting. We took to LinkedIn pretty heavily. One interesting thing with the social unrest or unjust these last couple months is I was actually informed to not be posting for, normal reasons on LinkedIn, right? To try and protect ourselves as an organization. And so that was something that we had to battle with, like, how do we communicate with our network without being able to post? And so we had to find ways to get creative there. My apologies, wanted to throw that in.
No problem, guys. You guys are giving great answers. We really appreciate it. And just to kind of pivot a little bit, how has networking impacted your career, and could you tell us a specific time where networking really helped you?
Yeah. So networking is everything. Like, I know you guys probably hear that on every single phone call you've ever been on. And it's the cliches and it's the same repetitive stuff, but it is quite literally, it's everything. It's how I got this new job. So to answer your question, to give an example, 3-4 months ago, when I realized things were going to get uglier before they got better for me with the Jets and the premium partnerships, specifically on the suite side, I said to myself, okay, well, let's go see what I'm worth out in the market right now. The best time to look for a job is when you have a job. And so I started changing my narrative from, hey, let me sell you a jet suite, to, hey, let me learn more about your business and your industry. I'm incredibly curious. I want to know what's out there, how I can help. And I told everybody and their mother that I was looking for another job. And I told my VP and my director that as well, because you can't tell half truths. It doesn't work. But long story short, somebody I tried selling a jet suite to for the last 1.5 years. She works with American Cancer Society. Her father ran this business I just joined now, and unfortunately he had passed about a month ago, and he was the sales guy, the relationship guy. And since Kristen knew that I was looking for a new sales opportunity, she immediately called me and said, this is going to sound crazy, but we want you to kind of come in and create your own lane with this business. I know you've been networking like crazy these last 6 months and everything else like that. We think you can use that to your advantage here. So I quite literally created a vice president role for myself at 26 years old. And that's, by no means me bragging. It's more of like, it's possible. Like, I don't know how I did it. It's just, other than me, genuinely wanting to connect with people and, with a give first mentality. I'm not out to get anybody. I don't have an angle. I'm not trying to get in anybody's pocket, just trying to help. And so, networking is everything, guys.
Yeah, 100%. On my end, I would say it's twofold. My approach to networking, just to kind of get out of the norm, right? Because on LinkedIn these days, the higher up your title, the more your inbox is just bombarded with all sorts of things you can't even imagine. So my brain is like, how do I still get this person's attention without necessarily sliding into their DMs, right? So I took to the comments, right? People who I wanted to be involved with were engaging on LinkedIn, posting things. So I would comment, oh, that's super cool. Or I would tag them in a post that I think would be relevant to them. And through that would get the conversation started for me. And it was a little more of a personal touch. I took that to the next step also. And here's a tip for you. You can find anybody's email address in the world. There's a bunch of different websites. I'll put some in the chat, but specifically sports, it's pretty generic. It's usually first, last name @team.com. So, for example, if Dillion posted something and just said, his team got, this big award or whatever, I'd shoot Dillion an email, just say, hey, congrats, Dillion. Raven over here from Orlando City, really admire what you guys got going on. Just try to make it as personal as possible for me. And that's really helped both on the sales side with ticket sales and then like having new connections in the sports industry. The other thing I wanted to share with you guys that I've heard most recently is you want to kind of create your board of advisors while you're networking. You want to have a mentor that can help you like articulate your goals. You want to have a sponsor that's going to help you open up some doors, the connector, so the plug, somebody big in the sports industry that you've connected with. A coach to kind of guide you through it, and a friend to talk to and, keep your cup full. Having those key players within that is going to set you years beyond, just trying to send a LinkedIn connection and hoping it goes somewhere from there.
Yeah, so for me, I definitely would not have my job if I didn't network. For Monumental, so many people apply for it because they have the Wizards and the Caps. And they have like over 600 employees. So there's always something on Teamwork Online from them. And the sales positions are up year round. They really are not at all funneling through the generic Teamwork Online applications. If you, like with my recruiter, I networked with her face-to-face at a networking fair in DC. And then she gave me her card, said, email me, I'll pull your application from the back end of Teamwork. And that's what they do. Like if you attend a sales combine with them, they know your face, they know your name, they've talked to you, they know details about you, they know that they like you, so that when you apply, they pull your stuff out of the back end. And that's what happened with me. If I just applied and had never met them, or, you know, now obviously you're not going to huge networking fairs like that. You can shoot them an email, like Raven said, or you can send them a LinkedIn a LinkedIn message, or, you know, really anything. You know, they're not pulling a stranger from Teamwork Online most of the times when it's a huge organization like Monumental. So networking really is everything.
Awesome. Yeah. And that's kind of just like a wrap up of our like goal of GSMO, is to kind of give you guys that platform to like build these relationships and connect with others, and also share amongst yourself. I know that me and Josh like meet up a lot and talk about who we've met with and how we think that they can connect with them and different things like that. So we definitely encourage a lot of networking. And kind of just to pivot off of the topic of networking, we're going to go into more sales specific questions. So what are some hard and soft skills to develop in hopes of obtaining a sales role?
Awesome. So yeah, I can give that a shot. And quickly, just one other note on networking. Something I realized over the last 6 months, and it really worked. I've just been telling people I've been mentoring. And again, the word mentor for me, you know, I feel like I'm still figuring it out. I have a ton of mentors, so it's interesting for somebody like myself to be considered a mentor to somebody else. But the point I'm making here is don't put walls up around your networking. Like I did that for the last 8 years. I only networked in sports, and it was great, but like you didn't see what else was out there. Or if you network in sports but you're specifically networking in just sales, go talk to people in marketing, operations, media, all the different things, because you guys can really just collect a lot of knowledge. But for sales specific like skills, couple things. Active listening is really important. It's something that I'm still working on myself. I'm always so anxious to, you know, they say the client or the prospect may say something, and I'm so anxious. I'm like, oh, okay, I can say this now because they told me this. Being able to collect your thoughts, but also still be able to give them your full attention and listen to everything they're saying is really, really hard to do, but really, really valuable. And that's just a matter of repetition. But if you can keep in mind the idea of active listening, that's huge. Couple other things quick, having the switch always on. That's like a phrase I always use, you know, whether it be, you know, driving down the highway and seeing like a billboard as like a potential lead. I'm like, oh, okay. I wonder, they probably have a VP of sales. I'm wondering if I can call that person. Or, you know, if you're networking with somebody and they say they work in the finance space and need some contacts over on the accounting side of things, anybody who you've talked to who's in accounting, like just mention their name or say, oh, let me see if I can make a connection there for you. So always having that switch on. And then the ability to just be relatable is everything. And, you know, obviously there's an aspect of that that's like fake it till you make it, right? You know, you talk about little Tommy's baseball practice and how excited they were, you know, whatever, you kind of play along. But in all seriousness, you guys can find ways to just relate with people and get them talking about things that they like talking about, like, you know, little Tommy's baseball practice, right? And then you turn that into a group sale for, you know, or whatever it might be. It's always having the ability to relate on those second and third level questions, as well as just having that switch on. And then the last thing is just I mentioned it briefly, is having this give first mentality. I think, Delilah and I have spoken about this a couple times over the last few months. It's, again, if you can kind of self-reflect and realize, like, I'm really not in sales to just put money in my pocket or to have the cool job, but to genuinely like build relationships and help people, like that's going to put money in your pocket at the end of the day. And that's great. But, you're in it to really make a difference. And I think anybody in sales, if they actually have that, they're going to be incredibly successful.
So funny enough, my answers are pretty much spot on with exactly what Dylan said, but I'll reiterate 2 points. My first tip is to just start getting comfortable talking to people, like having genuine conversations. This right here is a phone, and in sports sales, you're going to need to pick it up and talk to people. You might as well start doing it now if that's the path you see yourself going down. And when I say start getting comfortable with talking to people, in your everyday life, right? So, for example, you guys are college students, you're probably like, dating on the apps and stuff like that. Use that as kind of like a sales process. Think of it as a sales process. You want to get this girl or guy to be your potential significant other, right? How are you doing that? What questions are you asking them? Are you genuinely listening to them? Are you trying to get them on the phone, meet them in person? Like when you do, how is that process going? That process right there, which I know is something we've all done, that can help you not only in your interview skills with whatever potential job you're about to go through, it can help you in sales. It's just a genuine skill that I think is so lost today because we're such a texting, social media liking generation that if you just focus on your conversational skills, you're going to go a long way no matter what you choose to do. And the second thing that I would say would be it's a give and take, right? You definitely want to be relatable, just like Dylan said. Like for me personally, we're all in sports for a reason. For me, it's some of you have heard my story before where I lost my mom at a very young age, but what I remember most is she took me to WNBA games and I had a blast. Like it's the thing that I cherish the most about my childhood. And I take that with me in every step in every day of what I'm going through in sports. Whether you end up in sales or not, remember the reason why you're choosing to major in this and why you want to make a career out of this. If you go into every day with that mentality, it won't feel like a job and you're going to be really successful doing it. So take what Dylan said and then amplify what I just said.
Yeah, so building off of what Raven said, a lot of what like we've been taught at Monumental to make us successful in sales is to kind of, share why you're in it. At the beginning, you're not paid that much, but you take a sports job because you love sports. So you just kind of tell why. For us, we practice a lot of what we call IMIs, which you're just talking about like I this, my that. I talk about, going to Yankees games with my grandpa and him owning a golf course and, going to Magic games in elementary school. So I'm from Orlando and a lot of things like that. Like, I know Brian has taken over for Craig Schmidt, but Craig was basically my messiah senior year. And definitely preached the elevator pitch. And I never really listened. I hated the elevator pitch, but now it's kind of all I do in sales. Because you're selling yourself really before you sell any product. Like when an unknown number calls you and they are, very happy, bubbly, personality-wise, and they're talking about sports, oh my gosh, you're like, okay, I'll give this girl, at least a minute to talk to me. She's not selling insurance or anything. So people want to know a little bit more about you and what you're about and why you're calling from the Wizards before you sell them VIP seats or a half season or a full season or anything. So just kind of work on delivering yourself, how you kind of display your personality, your communication skills, and, just selling yourself basically.
Yeah, it's kind of daunting. I think the inspiration for this question was how do you get sales experience when you're in college? But I think you guys all hit on the nail that it's all about the passion and about meeting the right people and about doing everything in your power to make a name for yourself. So that's why we asked that question. Thanks for all of the responses. And then I think this will be our final question before we open it up from the audience is, what's something you wish you knew coming out of college?
Good question. The one thing I wrote down isn't going to be like, anything crazy, but, and it's kind of unrelated, but I am just now figuring out and learning about the stock market and, managing my money and investments and everything like that. And that's because it took me, 4 years to finally make some money in sports, to start investing. But, that's, I think, one misconception that, college students have and people entering the workforce is that, if their wallets aren't, just stacked with bills, that they can't, be doing some sort of investing or money management. And so that would just be one thing. There's so many easy ways to learn about it as well. So let me know if I can help with any information on that, because I have caught the stock trading bug, and not to mention the economy kind of seems to be a little bit, what's the best way to put it? It's not in touch with reality, to be fair. So there's money to be made if you're smart about it. That's just one thing. Sorry.
For me, I have two answers to this. Number one is to say yes to any opportunity that presents itself to you. I know we have a lot of aspirations to end up in, the NFL and work for Patriots or whoever your team may be, your dream team. And while I believe everyone can get there, it might not happen on day one. You might get an offer from, a minor league team or a lacrosse team or whatever. Say yes to those opportunities. I talk to people all the time that have their eyes laser focused on the NFL, and that's great. But I'd rather see somebody with some experience elsewhere, just anywhere in sports, before they get to that major league or that NFL opportunity. The second thing was, in college, I was like so focused on get a job. And in sports, the sports is grueling, man. You are constantly working. Like, don't think you're going to come into sports, no matter what segment, sales, marketing, whatever, and just have a 40-hour week. When you're in season, you're in season. You're living and breathing that. So I think it's very important that right out the gate, even in college, as you guys are doing your coursework and stuff like that, is to find time for the things that you really enjoy. And make sure these are things that are like really filling your cup, because, I tell my staff, if you guys aren't taking time during this week to, stay healthy, or like watch your favorite sitcom, or do some of your hobbies, or connect with your family, it's going to bite you in the butt as a salesperson, as a professional. You're going to get overwhelmed. You're going to get burnt out. And it's a trend in sports. So if I can tell you guys anything, it's yes, graduate, take that solo trip. The job will be here when you get back. You have your entire life to hit that director, that VP, whatever title you're trying to achieve. Just make sure you're always caring about yourself.
For me, something that I wish I did more in college and kind of like in the transition of coming out was our overlying theme of networking more. I didn't really network too much senior year, and I was like kind of picky. I knew my goal was to go to, I'm a huge Giants fan, sorry, Dylan. But I wanted to be in like the New York metro area, because that's where my family's from, and I kind of had my sights set on there. So I remember asking Craig if I could network with anyone from there, and he didn't have that many people. So I was just like, okay, I guess if Craig doesn't have anything, I don't have anything, okay. And I didn't really go the extra mile of searching anybody on LinkedIn and messaging them. I felt like that was kind of weird. But now I know that's the standard, and it's really what I should have done. I mean, I ended up in DC, and I'm very, very happy that I did. But I really wish that I networked a lot more.
Cool. Thank you, everyone. And now we're going to open up questions from the audience. So I got a question from Kyle Steinhoff. If you want to unmute yourself and ask the question that you sent me.
Hey, this is for Dylan or Raven. Basically, since I know Raven, Orlando City's been more successful as of late, but in the past couple of years, how do you guys handle sales when the team is not doing as well?
Great question. Yeah, I can answer quickly from the Jets standpoint. And I think this answer is going to be the same. There's different ways to answer it, but it's at the end of the day, you have to convince your client, your consumer, your fan, whoever it is that, it's not always about the product on the field. It's the whole game day experience. It's the, everything like that. So you got to find a million ways to add value, right? So for me in the B2B role with the Jets, I was I dodged the bullet there a little bit because I was selling to businesses. Sometimes they didn't even really care who was playing on the field. They wouldn't even look at the game. They were just in there to entertain and schmooze. But you have to know that. So I think the answer is you have to know it's on a one-off basis. If your client is more about the tailgating and they don't care about the team, then just give them the best parking spot. Make sure that their tailgate access is early and they can go do everything else. It's just knowing what each fan or each person entering the building that day wants out of that experience. And so, I think it's really just about building up the overall experience. I know you guys have heard that a million times, but I think that's the truth.
Yeah, on the consumer end, for me, I'm extremely blunt when somebody gives me this objection. I always start with, I grew up in South Florida. I've been to countless Heat, Panthers, Miami Soul, Dolphins games. I do not remember any scores. I don't. I remember getting called up to go on the field or to go on the court and shoot a free throw. I remember the crowd doing the waves. I don't remember the score. You remember the experience. And then I would go into finding out what that person truly wants out of their experience. My boys in purple are finally doing good. But it's still no different. I'm still having to have those conversations with people. So yeah, kind of the same thing.
Great, thank you guys. We had another question from Matt Petrakis. If you want to unmute yourself.
Hi everyone. Sorry, I'm having technical difficulties with my camera. I appreciate you coming out first of all. My question was, so I know right now a lot of jobs are having hiring freezes in the sports industry, and with sports resuming as of late, I wanted to know about the hiring changes and the hiring processes of the upcoming year.
Sure. Yeah. I'll give it a quick answer only because I don't know if I can answer it all that well. But to kind of transition maybe, what I would say is with everything starting to open back up right now, I think you're still going to see, especially geographically, right? Again, if you're up in the New York metro area, I think teams are going to be waiting a lot longer to get active on hiring. I think depending, if you're working down the East Coast, it might be different or wherever you are. But one piece of advice I'd give is don't wait for a job to become available. Don't wait for a job to be posted. I worked for the Aspire Group. For those who are familiar, they have about 50 different Division I properties across the country that they sell for, Maryland being one of them, UConn, Rutgers. I mean, they're everywhere. I told people, anybody who I mentor, I say, hey, listen, they're not going to have jobs open right now, but that doesn't mean you can't reach out, find a property that looks interesting to you, get on the phone with the hiring manager who has nothing else to do right now because he's managing a sales team that can't sell anything right now, most likely, or he or she. And, and so you don't have to wait around. Get creative, get on LinkedIn, find the hiring manager's email, shoot them a note, really quickly. This is an email I've sent a million times and it seems to do pretty well. And it's keeping it very, very basic and simple. It's, hey, hey Raven, hope you're well. Wanted to connect with you because I think we have a lot of things in common. Would love to learn more about your current role and your journey and how I can be a resource for you, that's more on the networking side. But again, similar concept when interviewing for a job or asking about a position. Hey, coming out of college, would love to learn more about your program. Looks incredibly exciting. Would love to see how I can be of value to you guys. Here's my resume, and attach. So it's not just in a stack of electronic resumes on Teamwork Online like we've referenced. So I apologize for my scatterbrain again.
Yeah, I would say, especially in my own experience at Orlando City, we're continuing to build our pipeline so that once HR tells us, okay, you can begin to hire, I have my 4 or 5 individuals already that I just need to put through the final step at this point. So if you don't see any roles open, don't think that they're not trying to build a pipeline, because in every role, as soon as they're starting to get back to regular game pay, they're going to need people to sell, they're going to need people to market. And if you can get your name out there ahead of time, you're doing yourself a great service for sure.
Yeah, piggybacking off of what Raven said, I know like my manager and director are definitely trying to kind of build that pipeline. Even though they're not selling tickets, they're trying to get you in, because what they've told us is that, as soon as we can sell and as soon as, we can bring people back into Capital One Arena, like we're going to go from 0 to 100. Like we're going to go full force, and we're going to need more people to kind of dig ourselves out of the hole that COVID has created. So if you kind of just take this downtime to build those relationships and just kind of learn more about the organizations, and, try to sell yourself. Because if you can sell yourself to them, then you can sell yourself to clients and, eventually sell tickets and things. Then you're going to be in a really good position compared to a lot of others.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Awesome. So those were kind of the questions that we got from the audience, and we're going to start wrapping up. I'm going to share my screen again. Thank you to Dillion, Raven, and Chynna for being great guests and really kicking off the start of these meetings really well. And to everyone, feel free to connect with any of them on LinkedIn, send them an email, thank them for their time, and follow up with them as much as possible. So yeah, I'm going to start sharing my screen again to wrap the meeting up.
Hey, Delilah, do you mind if I make one note real quick?
Yeah, totally.
Sure. And I'm sorry to keep interrupting. But just for everybody on this call, it's going to sound weird from the guy who just quit the sports industry for something else, but, sports is healthy right now, right? I'm sure you guys are hearing from friends and family and on your television screen and on the radio and podcasts that, sports are screwed or anything, whatever else. Look at it from the top down. The teams in the leagues, they have deep pockets. They're going to be okay. They're going to come out of this with a pop like you guys are talking about. Ticket sales and suite sales, that's really where it's hurting right now. But again, they need it. That's going to come back. You're not going to see empty stadiums this time, 2-3 years from now, hopefully. There's just no way. And then, guys, working for sports doesn't just mean you got to work for a team. There's sports media, sports agency, sports technology, just those 3 alone. Think about how well all 3 of those industries are doing right now. They're hiring like crazy, internships, entry-level positions, because there's such a demand right now. So stay optimistic. Don't let people tell you the sports are in the dump right now, because they're not. They're better than ever, in my opinion.
Awesome. And yeah, our upcoming meetings will definitely have guests from some of the sectors of the industry that Dillion just mentioned. So be sure to stay updated with that. And right now I'm going to go back to our PowerPoint. Just learning how to share my screen. Sorry, everyone. Okay. So yeah, interested in joining the e-board. We are in search of a freshman and a sophomore student looking to be involved in our club. They'll kind of be representatives from their classes, as Josh, Nate, Chris, and I are all upperclassmen at this point. So we really want to get those new members or younger members in to help us develop our membership class and like kind of make it even between everyone. Make sure to stay informed and stay relevant. This is just a graphic of kind of all of the newsletters, not even all of them, but some of the newsletters you can subscribe to. If some of them are paid subscriptions, you can always jump in on it with a friend or two and kind of Venmo each other to kind of get the information needed. It's definitely a great way to stay updated on what's going on.
Delilah, could you just go back to that quickly? I want to just say something quickly. So the top left is Sports Business Journal. It is paid, but there's student discounts, and it is incredible. There's so many different things about the industry in Sports Business Journal, and you can kind of tailor it towards what part of this, what sector as well you're interested in. So although it's paid, Sports Business Journal is still by far the just incredible. For Not For Sports and Axios are two newsletters I get daily. They're really helpful. You read them in like 10 minutes. It's like something you can wake up in the morning while you're still in bed. They tell you literally everything from the past day. You get one Monday through Friday. And then just in general, like all of these are just like, you can apply to jobs through some of them. You can get like more sporadic newsletters. There's so many different ways that you can learn about the industry that you specifically care about the most. And I don't know, it's just so helpful. So definitely read.
Cool. Agreed. And then here's just an upcoming schedule of our meetings. Themes will include marketing, events, media, and facilities, but we don't have them assigned to a specific meeting, but always good to show up to all the meetings and get all the information. So if you want to take a picture of this or add it to your agenda, you can do so now. And we'll also be posting this on our social media pages. So if you miss it now, don't worry. A recap on our social media, UF, GSMO, across the board. We're a little slower on our Facebook page, so we kind of promote Instagram the most. It's just our most active. And recently we created a GroupMe account for GSMO as a whole. So here's the QR code. And again, that's posted on our social media in case you don't get it here. But that's kind of all we've prepared for today. And I hope you guys have had a great time and a meaningful meeting and experience. And just want to, again, thank all of our guest speakers and hope to see you guys at the next meeting.
Just before anyone leaves, if you guys could please click on the sign-in form I just posted, just for our data to see that who ended up attending today. It's like literally will take you 10 seconds. Please fill it out. We forgot to make a QR code.
Cool.
Thanks so much, guys. Appreciate it.